So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey
Hello.
everybody, welcome to
there we go.
Dapper Reacts. We are here. My here we go that I said earlier to Kip was to let him know that he could shut up anytime now, and then he just kind of kept saying like, are we gonna go? So there is actually no happy medium. If I tell him immediately, he won't have enough time. If I tell him with enough time, he won't be sure when we're going. So there is just no solution to this problem.
None. I mean, you just got to live with it, right? Some things you just have to live with.
It's true. It's true. Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $5 says, "Holy hand grenade, this is a big goal. Helping from the start. Something bag of Richards is AIG. There you go. Thunk brain still rolling bat. Yeah, we'll take a drink for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I do want to say that the goal. I am trying out a different goal today. The goal is higher at 50. However, there's a big difference. Any super chat will count. So the $1 super chats, those still count. So I'm wondering if. Basically, I'm just wondering, like, okay, will that actually be like a better super chat goal? Will people like that more? I don't know. It's an experiment. So, if you have strong feelings about it, either way, please let me know, especially in the comments, because that will keep a relatively permanent record, as well as boost this video in the algorithm. So, we got 10 drinks to take. So I'm gonna take 10 drinks while Vishanti tells us, why it is that Natasha manages to be part of the Avengers despite having no actual powers other than being pretty good at karate or something.
Boobs.
Mm.
Do you want me to say it 10 times while you take 10 drinks? Because I could
Maybe.
do that.
Well, I only need 5 more drinks though, so I don't know.
Okay. Boobs. Beebs. 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 Beebs.
I thought there might actually be a real reason, but maybe it is boobs. I don't know.
I mean, look, that's the reason for a lot of these things. Why did they cast so-and-so instead of so-and-so? Boobs.
Boobs.
I mean, yeah, but that's a casting,
But
not
also,
a character decision.
In this specific instance, Emily Blunt was the original choice, which I support 1000% because she's awesome. Have you seen what's that movie with Tom Cruise that she starred in? Something About Tomorrow. Anyway, she was the original choice, and she kind of got screwed over by the studios because she was in the first Gulliver's Travels, and they tried to option her for a second one that really didn't do that hot or get made at all or whatever. So they went with Scarlett Johansson, and I'm so salty about that forever. So salty.
She is really great.
Emily Blunt would have been an amazing choice. She can emote, which is generally something that you want in your actors. Thank you, Fits of Rage. It's Edge of Tomorrow. And Emily Blunt wouldn't have you constantly questioning whether or not, is this character supposed to be like super stoic and stuff? Or is she just not acting? And well, if you can do deductive reasoning, you can probably figure out what my opinion is on that. But you know, hey.
Yeah. She was my favorite part of The Devil Wears Prada, which is hard to do when you're acting
Emily Blunt,
Meryl Streep, right? So
right. The scene where she's talking about like all she's had is a piece of cheese because she's trying to get ready for the Paris show, and I'm just like, real.
I hear that's how you can fascinate a woman, is with a piece of cheese.
With a piece of cheese, yeah. Kip, are you going to see the second one? I keep seeing it advertisements for it all over the freaking place.
Yes, I loved that movie so much.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
All right, we got a few more super chats here.
It also had Simon Baker in it, who I quite like.
Which I'll get to read them sometime.
He was the blonde guy that Anne Hathaway fooled around with for a little bit. He was the writer, but he always looks very nice.
I haven't forgotten about you, Tree Clam Tad.
I have.
Tree Clam Tad for $5 says, Dr. Kip Davis doesn't know about the snake fighting portion of the thesis defense. I think his PhD is as real as his book. AIG is a bag, etc., with a Mothra emoji. We'll take a drink.
Listen, this is true. I had not learned about the snake portion of the thesis defense until we had the snake fighting portion, until we had Dr. Jordan Jones on the channel.
Okay.
Yep.
On my birthday. So I guess they do. Not everybody does things the exact same. I guess.
Yeah, here in some countries you get a sword when you get your PhD.
Yeah, that's cool.
You should get a PhD
In
someplace where they
Finland.
give you a sword.
Do you think it would be possible for me to attend UNAM, like Mexico's National Autonomous University, and have them present me with a makwawit if I
Did-
complete a PhD?
Do they normally give out whatever the
I
plural
don't
of
know,
makawit
but wouldn't that be
is?
cool if
What
they
i-
did?
what is the
Very
plural of
articulate.
makawit?
Weapon?
Oh snap!
You work
Let me
on
go
that.
get my notebook while you
Okay.
read other stuff.
Okay.
Prixie Purple for $2 says, I like the smaller dollar more number goal with a AIG's a bag of dicks emoji, and we'll take a drink. Thank you. I like that. I appreciate the feedback. The Screen Geek, who's been a member for 36 months, says, cheers to 36 months to this community, to Dr. Kip talking during the intro. Yep. And AIG still being a bundle of boas. Don't be Bilbo. Hit like and sub. Agreed. And I'll take a drink there. Thank you very much. DM Wing, who's been a member for... here we go.
Going.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm finding it.
DM Wing, who's been a member for 42 months, says, do you know where your towel is? I know where like 3 of my towels are. But then there's a Godzilla, a Mothra, a King Ghidorah, and an AIG's bag of dick emoji, and we'll take a drink for that. Thank you. All right, Metageeky Platypus Librarian, who's been a member for 18 months, says, different schools and programs have different exams. That's true. And then Sapphire, Big Swamp, it cut off the rest of it. Thanks, YouTube. Let me see if I can figure it out. Big Swamp Denier,
Very
light, there it is.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
For $2 says, I have strong feelings about this. Deep hurting. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so what are we here to talk about after we get the... Well, eventually we'll get the plural for makawit. But
So this isn't my favorite answer, but in Nahuatl, you can't really predict what the plural is going to be because there's so much variance.
What is
so
this,
you kind of
Arabic?
have to learn it at the same time as you learn the singular.
oof,
So I'm trying to pull out the the vocabulary list to see if they
literally
pluralize it.
Arabic does that. There's other than words for humans, which usually have regular endings in Arabic, virtually every other word has what's called a broken plural, which means it follows one of like 20 different pluralization patterns, and you just have to remember which one it is.
Yeah, there's at least 5 different ways to pluralize nouns, and I'm not entirely certain which category of those 5 that makwawit falls into, because it might be makwatin, it could be makwawiti, wheatly. There's a whole thing, so I'm gonna look because it's for whatever reason not in the back of this text, which is bizarre. But yeah.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, other communities, hit sub and like. Yeah, that is a thing for other communities, as long as the sub is okay with it. I do remember when Jimmy Johns tweeted out, how do you top your subs? And was disgusted with the results that came back. I was like, come on, Jimmy Johns, what did you expect? Anyway, so we are here to take a look at Ammon Hillman, who is a classicist who specializes in Greek pharmacological works, which is a fairly narrow specialization, and I have no reason to think that he does not do adequate work within that. However, he has decided that his excellence in classical pharmacological Greek should therefore let him comment on non-classical koine,
the New Testament,
religious writings by Christians and Jews.
The Septuagint.
The Septuagint, the New Testament. And he comes to conclusions on that basis that are
wildly inaccurate.
I was going to say idiosyncratic, but that is also a good description. I was going to be slightly nicer.
I don't think he does this anymore, but he used to broadcast from his kitchen.
I think that's what's going on here.
Yes. Now, I believe, though, I haven't seen him for a long time, but the last few times I did see him, he was, he now broadcasts from his car. I think he's a little bit like
like a flat earther.
Yeah. I was gonna say the CC. Is that
Westchester County, New York?
Yes.
Always gives the date that he's recording for some reason, as if anyone would care.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the 2 best candidates are makwawitli or makwawitlin.
All right. Now we just have to find a
So-
native Nahuatl speaker and ask.
I mean, there are some, but it's probably going to depend on which dialect they're speaking.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
All right. Well, we're gonna take a look at a part of a interview that he gave, and we're gonna see what his claims are regarding Hebrew, Greek, and why it is he thinks that the Hebrew scriptures were actually written in Greek, which is sure as a take. But before we do that, I gotta just
Sure
say,
is.
hey there, Dapper Dinosaur, April 25th, 2026, Tucson, Pima County, Arizona. Let's go.
Facts pulled right out of the crazy web. I want to pull these out, and I want to just ask a question. A couple of questions, basic questions.
Guys, he's just asking questions.
Yeah. That's it.
So we got to jack
Is
on
he
They
that.
all start
ever-
there, right?
is he ever
Uh,
not on narcotics?
No, he seems to always be constantly high on
Always.
something.
Always.
Okay.
Uh,
Because, I mean,
But I
yeah, I see this behavior and that look in his eyes and hear this cadence from people who are constantly on narcotics. So,
yeah.
Fits of rage.
I only just I was so this is something that I've watched a lot of Ammon Hillman, and this is something that really only just hit me now as he said this. We're just asking questions. That's like right away the very first thing I think of is like Mark Sargent's
Mhm.
Flat Earth Clues,
Yep.
right? Like
It's
that's-
conspiracy bullshit.
That's how this. That's it. That's all it is.
And here's the difference, right? When you say I'm just asking questions, and then what you do is present a bunch of absurd questions with false premises or questions that have very easy to find out answers, and then you just let them hang there with the obvious implication that the answer is whatever they don't want you to know. You're not just asking questions. If you were actually just asking questions, what you would do is you would come up to someone who actually knows what they're talking about in the subject, and you would say like, "Hey, I find this strange and I don't understand how this works. Could you explain it to me?" And then when you get the explanation, you either say, "Okay, thanks," or if it still doesn't make sense, you can say, "I don't get how," and then you can explain why it doesn't make sense. But you have an open dialogue with someone who actually knows what they're doing. And failing that, at the very least, look up the
Mhm.
answers. It's, well, I mean, this was probably given a few years ago, but like, it's the 21st century. You're in a first world country. You can get the internet to work for you. You can find the answer to any questions like these. But we got a couple things to read here. Fits of Rage 23, who's been a member for 28 months, says, "Hope you had a nice vacation." I did, up until my computer started to just die, and I found out that one of my 2 RAM sticks was just dying. So I took it out, and now I'm on
Ugh.
half RAM. So that's fun.
Oh dear.
It turns out, though, that
Damn.
half of 96 RAM is still a pretty decent amount of RAM.
a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 96 gigs originally.
About-
I'm at 48 now, which is more than most people have anyway.
It's more than I've
is there a kind of average shelf life for RAM?
I don't know. I mean, I would
Okay.
imagine
Well, if
there
anyone in the
must be.
chat happens to know, because I've also noticed a little bit of weirdness with my own PC, which
Hmm.
I built. So I built it in, I think, 2020, and I'm not entirely sure what the average like shelf life of RAM should be to
Yeah.
know whether or not this is predictable or if it's something I need to like look into.
So my RAM is from Patriot, and apparently they have a pretty good warranty. You just have to fill out a lot of paperwork to get your replacement RAM. So hopefully here in the next couple weeks or so, I'm going to be working on getting some replacement RAM from Patriot. And hopefully I don't have the experience that one Reddit user had where they were accidentally directed to send their RAM to the Taiwan production facility rather than the US warehouse where the RAM is actually stored for distribution in the US. And so they had to wait for months and months and months for things like customs and shipping to Taiwan.
Mhm.
So, fingers crossed. Were you able to get more audition recordings? So that is actually something I want to talk about. Real quick, we'll just talk about it right now. I had a lot of people ask for the recordings, or for the scripts for the recordings for the horror project. And I've had very few people ever get back to me with those recordings. And so if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, please get back to me, because if I don't have enough people to actually make up a crew, I can't actually go forward. And so right now, I think I'm sitting on like maybe 2 or 3 people who've actually gotten back to me with full responses to that. So if you're one of those people, please DM me. And if you've already gotten back with me, DM me again just to remind me that you're one of the ones who did get back to me. So, yeah. And then there's a slew of emojis. There's a disgusting Plagitunicate, an AIG's bag of dicks, a Godzilla, a Mothra, a Ghidorah, a good, guard-fearing, hard-working, sessile tunicate, and then they're disgusting
tunicate.
pelagic. Lots of countries have those colors there. Lots of them. Oh, drink for Mothra.
I've not been. I've been here long enough. I feel like I should recognize the difference between all the tunicates, but I don't.
That's okay. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says dialects were created by big linguistics to sell more linguists. I mean, that's kind of.
Yeah.
Katie Lewis for $5 says Ammon Hillman knows a little bit about Greek pharmacology. Sorry.
As little.
Oh, as little. There we go. Ammon Hillman knows as little about Greek pharmacology as he does about the Bible. TLDR, he is making testable claims that can be disproved. I'm scripting. Nice. Yeah, so I have actually heard people who definitely do have the expertise to judge Ammon Hillman on his Greek knowledge go out and say that actually his Greek is not actually very good at all and is quite bad. So my Greek
Stephen
is
Stephen Nelson of Cross Bible, friend of my channel, has an almost 5-hour video presentation of the many ways in which Ammon Hillman screws up sometimes really basic stuff about the language too. It's confusing.
Yeah, I'm not. It does confuse me because apparently he has actual publications about like Greek pharmacological works, but on the other hand, people seem to disparage his Greek and the people who would know, and I'm just like, I don't know how to parse that. Well, I'm gonna hit play.
There's a story here, and as the story goes, he wrote his PhD dissertation, I believe at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, I think, on drug use in Roman culture on the basis of texts that he was reading. Lots of previously untranslated texts, apparently. And the way he tells the story, he says that they would not accept his dissertation until he removed all the references to the drug use, which is like the topic, because Romans wouldn't do that as they told him, as he was told.
Well, first, they absolutely would.
So he did that. According to him, he did that just to get the dissertation through review, and then has published a version. He's published it, but then put all that stuff back in and published it with like in non-peer review, with a non-academic press. It's just in like a regular press. So
See,
that's his story. My thoughts are more likely he wrote a shit dissertation that barely squeaked through and couldn't find anybody to publish it. So he went with like a crappy publisher who doesn't do peer review.
So I'll say a couple things. One, the Romans absolutely would do drugs because they're humans.
Yeah.
Humans like drugs.
Yep.
And
Yes,
like
they
seriously,
do.
what kind of
also-
like an established classicist is going to tell their student, "Oh no, you can't. You
that's the
can't
other
say
part.
this because they wouldn't do that."
That's the
Like,
other part.
that's
I don't
just-
believe that.
That is just not believable at all.
All right, here we go.
Let's give me that first. Yeah, there you go. Just take a look at some of these facts. Look, the number of attested biblical Hebrew words is 8,198. Okay, of which some 2,000 are hapax legomena. Take it down. Hapax legomena. What is a hapax legomena?
It's a word that occurs only once in all of
Yeah, well-
literature.
Yeah, at this point, he should be saying, "What is a hapax legomenon?" Because hapax legomena is plural.
Which is a Greek
And,
word, and you would think he would know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah, that's one of those basic neuter nouns in Greek that end in on for their singular and a for their plural. Yeah. My Unfinished Journey for $6.66 says, "Hail Nero, hail Daps, Kip, and Vish, and hail English as she is spoke." Thank you very much.
And hello to Elena42, who is saying for $0 in the chat. Sorry, hi guys from South Africa.
Hello.
Hi.
I hope South Africa is treating you well, and I hope you don't have to run into Ficatzoid.
Good.
It still boggles my mind that he's a flat earther from the southern hemisphere who can just look up and notice that nope, that doesn't work.
Way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You know how he's called Ficatzoid, even though he used to call himself Flatzoid, right, Kip?
No.
The long story
what-
short
what-
is that he kept pissing and moaning that nobody was reaching out to him to go on the Antarctica trip.
Mhm.
And once it became very obvious that he had not listed his email address anywhere on his channel, despite insisting, it's on my channel, you could just email me. We watched him type it live as catzoid
At gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
Yep. And then he quickly changed it to Flatzoid, but it didn't matter because the screenshots had already been taken and had already been shown on a live stream.
Oh, they sure
It's like when
were.
Nephilim Free
Yeah.
showed his escort tab and then was like, no, I didn't. And he trimmed it out of that video. It's like, bro, what are you talking about?
The internet never forgets.
It does not. We got a couple more. Josh Wiggies for $5 says, is he saying hotbox legoma? Is he hotboxing leggings?
Good.
Olivia Williams, Purple Lights or Purple Fairy, I'm not sure which one it says. Says, meanwhile, Dionysus cult existed, right? Like seriously.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, a hapax legomenon is a word that only occurs in one time to our current knowledge in all of the literature in that language. It usually is going to be occurring in ancient languages that are not currently spoken, at least not in that form anymore. And presumably, that was a word that was in circulation and that people generally knew. But for whatever reason, it's only been preserved once. Because one thing to remember about ancient literature is we don't have even a tiny fraction of what it originally was, right? The amount of literature written in Hebrew is vastly larger than what is contained in the Hebrew scriptures. The amount of literature that was written in Greek is vastly larger than what we have in classical Greek that has been preserved down to this day. And that's true for every ancient language that has a writing system. For all the ones that didn't have a writing system, we have basically none of it preserved because
Nothing.
yeah. The only exception might be if we have preserved like transcriptions from a person with a language that can write and they were writing down what someone said in a foreign language that didn't itself have a writing system. But I'm not aware of any such instances. So let's see. My Unfinished Journey for $2 says, and hail Dapper missing my subtle wordplay. I'm always missing the subtle wordplay. I'm sorry. All right, so that is what a hapax legomenon is, and let's hit play.
That is a word that appears only once. We only have one reference to it.
I think we're back. Oh, yep, here we are. Sorry about that,
Are we?
everybody.
Nice.
I guess maybe both my RAM sticks are going because OBS just crashed. But then again, OBS has been known to crash before, so like maybe it's just that. Sorry about that. So we were just saying that you can actually often figure out what a hapax legomenon means. For one thing, context is a thing. For another thing, there is this thing called cognates, where you can look into related languages to see if you can find a word with the same derivation as that word and see what it means in those languages. In fact, if you look at the Hebrew and Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament, basically every word gets a cognate section where they tell you what cognates mean in other Semitic languages like Aramaic or Arabic or other things like that, right? Like sometimes you'll even get things like, Ugaritic or Babylonian or something like that, right? And that can help you figure out what the word means, even though it only occurs one time. And also sometimes a word can have a nakedly transparent etymology. Like it can just be a compound word. So if that's the case, like if English goes extinct someday and we only have one instance of the word doghouse, people will probably be able to figure out that it's a structure that dogs can live in. And it probably won't be a super big mystery.
People are saying they can't see me. I expect that's on purpose.
No, it's not, but let me see. Oh, that's because it reverted to the settings from before it crashed.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Well, while you fix that, I'll mention something else too with respect to biblical Hebrew. especially when it comes to sorting out the meanings of hapax legomena. Well, there's an enormous amount of the literature in the Hebrew Bible is poetic, which means it's written in these parallel stikos, verses, where parallel statements, basically, which helps a great deal, because if you have a hapax legomenon in one of your parallel statements that is then repeated in another one with a different word, it provides you a strong sense of the meaning. You put all these puzzle pieces together, right, to get a pretty good general sense of what a word means. So, but this raises, I have a question about this too. Now I'm interested to know how many hapax legomena we find in that listing of Greek words.
I don't know. If anything, I would
right?
expect it to be higher.
A lot higher,
Yeah.
I would think.
And there are definitely hapax
And,
legomena in Greek. There are some in the New Testament.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's yeah. So it's it's, and as we'll discover, a lot of the answers to this and some of Hillman's very silly questions are by just applying an equal measure to both languages instead of cherry picking and special pleading for Greek.
Well, let's let him get to
which
the
is-
special
which is
pleading
what he
before we
does
take it apart too much.
all the goddamn time. Okay.
because they're essentially a guess. So we've got 2,000. So that leaves us with 6,000 words that we know we can trace.
No, actually, you can trace many hapax
Yeah.
legomena because
Oh,
there are
sure.
other Semitic languages that exist, some very closely
Yeah.
related to Hebrew.
6,000 words. Fantastic. Is that a lot?
It's about as many as most people use in their normal life. So it's enough to have basically every conversation you're ever going to have in your life outside of like specialized fields. So yeah, it's enough. I don't know what you mean by enough, but it's enough to have basically any conversation you have on a normal day. Let's see. Tree Clam Tad for $2
I
says,
like this.
hapax legomena, do.
Hapax legomena.
Nice.
I was hearing it in I was hearing the phenomenon song from Sesame Street.
Oh,
Yeah,
could be that one too.
phenomenal.
I think
I was
so.
thinking Baby Shark.
Hapax
Yeah.
legomena.
Do.
Do-do-do. Hapax legomena.
All right.
Legomena.
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing.
I went for Baby Shark.
Is that a lot? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. You biblical Hebrew scholars, hang in there with me. The Oxford English Dictionary estimates that there are around 170,000 words in current use in English.
Yes, with an organization that
Right.
is currently tracing active words among a living population of speakers. That is always going to be a larger section of the words than you're going to get from an ancient language whose literature has only been partially preserved. Ammon, that's how history works. That's how time works.
It's also just a gigantic population of like users.
Oh
too.
yeah, English has
English speakers.
the number of English speakers currently is larger likely than the number of Hebrew speakers ever.
Oh, yes, right? Like it's a yeah.
Yep.
Very small, limited area where this language was spoken for a time.
Also, among living languages, English is actually like unusually wordy in terms of just like the number of like lexical entries in a good dictionary. And that's part of that is that English loves to grab new words and use them for subtle shades of like basically emotional content. You'll get several different words that basically mean the same thing, except they also tell you how much I like or dislike the thing I'm talking about. And like most languages aren't doing that to the same degree as English. English is weird.
With an additional 47,000 obsolete words. That's interesting. According to dictionary.com,
really.
over half the words in an English dictionary come from Greek and Latin. On the academic
How
word list,
shocking.
it's closer to 2/3. Take that down.
Okay.
It's almost like the people who spoke Latin colonized the places that started, to speak English and develop it.
Weird.
Yep.
Weird,
how
huh?
that-
And then
Yeah.
Oh.
even after that colonial power had collapsed, it remained a prestige language, as well as a
about that?
language used for
Wow.
like academic
Yeah.
purposes across an entire continent. Mhm.
Yep.
But however, if you take a look at the actual words that most people use in most sentences in English, you will find that they are overwhelmingly Germanic. In fact, if you
He's in there, maybe
hold
some
on,
Galician.
we weren't streaming.
Damn it.
My
Every
apologies.
damn buffering.
So what we missed there, because I wasn't putting out data. Thanks. Apparently, we're having technical problems again. I don't know what to do anymore. So Ammon Hillman just said that 2/3 of the words that you use in everyday life are from classical Greek or Latin and English, and I said no, that's actually not true. And then I said, in fact, the vast majority are in Germanic. And then I said, in the sentence, the vast majority of the words you use in everyday life are Germanic. Pretty much the only Latin word there is Germanic, which is ironic. And yeah, we'll
Yeah.
drink for gremlins. That was a pretty big gremlin.
And then I was saying that the Spanish manuscript that I'm working on from the late 1500s is mostly in the Spanish of the time, but it often will use Portuguese and sometimes Portuguese Galician, and the guy was just very highly educated, so he'll switch into Latin at certain points to quote scripture because he had access to the Vulgate. So yeah, this is this is not unusual for people to consider Latin as just like, oh yeah, let me just switch over. Like, bro actually taught Latin to indigenous folks. He
Yeah.
was that good.
Actually, I have in one of my scripts that I haven't recorded yet, I have a joke about Latin in there. Yeah. I think, what was it? I'll try to find it. I basically just put in extra Latin that we don't normally get. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the sentence is, so this is about like, oh, how did the matter get here? And if it wasn't by God, then, well, if God created, then I guess evolution doesn't work. So I put in my script, evolution will operate just the same if God created matter in situ ex nihilo per fiat. Just added in an extra Latin onto the top of the ex nihilo. Because why not, right? I can. No one can stop me.
Because why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
170,000 is impressive.
I guess, sure.
I mean,
if you're impressed
sure.
by big numbers.
I guess.
Yeah, big numbers,
right.
therefore Greek.
Yeah.
That's an impressive amount.
He's still.
Yeah,
Well,
biblical
we're not
Hebrew
even
has a
on
very-
Greek yet. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
This is just English still.
Yeah, it's so funny.
just you
Speaking of
wait.
switching randomly to Latin, Luis de Carvajal, of blessed memory, is writing essentially his autobiography or his memoirs, and he'll talk about scripture, he'll talk about like the things that have happened to him in his life, and then he'll in Spanish be talking about a thing, and then out of nowhere he'll just be like non feci talite omni nationi, etc. Y como el triste ciego la vi-" whatever, and he'll go back to Spanish, and you're just like, dude,
Oh, I
What?
hope.
Look, I'll be honest with you.
fun.
Not all of my thoughts and the notes that I write to myself are always in English. Sometimes a thought occurs to me and it's not in English, and I write it down in whatever language it happened in. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's
that's
English.
starting to happen to me
sure
more.
hope-
Yep. Sometimes it's
Starting to
English.
happen to me
Sometimes
more.
it's French. Sometimes it's Spanish. Sometimes it's Klingon.
Yeah.
I sure hope this happens, Steve Weber. Steve Weber wonders if this guy at some point penned a book, Hebrew as She Spoke.
Oh yes,
Hebrew
that would be
She
great.
Is Spoke. And I'm waiting for that book.
My
Yes,
unfinished
please.
sock for $2 says don't buffer randomly, like and share instead. Yeah, sorry about that. That's probably gonna happen again.
That'd be much better.
Egyptomaniac in the chat writes omnis linguam latinam sciunt non.
Where is this? I'm trying to find it.
Oh, it's
It's like a
12:37
few posts above
PM.
the super chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh yeah.
Didn't help as
All of
much.
the Latin language. Wait. Are not?
Sciunt?
Oh no, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of sequent. I'm not sure what that verb is. Sorry. I skipped tree clams. I didn't
Sciunt
skip
as in
tree clam tads.
scientia, maybe like
I
you
didn't
know
skip
all
tree.
languages, right?
Oh, I
Or
did
all
skip
Latin
this one.
languages?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Tree clam tat for
Just
$2
guessing.
says English loves to do colonialism, much like Latin. Also true. That's why a lot of languages have Latin words, English words in them. It's something like 10% of the Japanese vocabulary is now derived from English, which is kind of a lot especially for Japanese, which does not like to bring in a whole lot of loan words if they can help it. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, this man sounds as breathy as the ideal evangelical teenage girl voice from 20 years ago. Oof. That is a very specific and very accurate point there.
Everyone knows Latin right. Scide to know. Okay, so I was close. My brain was saying decir, but I was like, no, honey, that's dijo or talk.
People think I know more Latin than I do.
Scide reminded me of scientia, but whatever, it's fine.
A limited vocabulary of less than 9,000 words, but is tremendously rich in expressing itself. Oh, seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
You don't need a gajillion words, my guy.
9,000 is more than most people know.
Yeah.
So,
like when we say, oh, English is 140,000, most people don't know most of those words.
Yeah.
This is also because Ammon Hillman, it's very important to point this out. Ammon Hillman does not read Hebrew in the first place.
No.
He's told me this himself, that his command of Hebrew is about as good as recognizing the alphabet.
Shocking.
And sounding out the words, right? Like that's,
so he's
that's
worse
what
than
he
me.
do. Yeah. Oh, far worse. So one of the, I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of language systems. They're not all the same, right? And within a language like Hebrew, you've got, and this is a point that was raised by Stephen Nelson when he did his fairly comprehensive review of Hillman's stuff. We don't know how, or I think Stephen sort of figured out how he's counting that number of words.
Oh, I remember
right?
this. It was word forms, wasn't it?
Yeah, because like it's what happens in Hebrew is, which is different from Greek, it's different from English, it's different from a variety of languages. This is within Semitic languages. Within Hebrew, there's at least 6 or 7 different verbal stems that can be applied to any verbal root. And he's probably just counting roots here when he's doing this. That will usually they will affect the meaning of a word. They'll change the aspect or sorry, they'll change the aspect from like indicative to infinitive, or from active to passive, or reflexive or causative, or these sorts of things, right? But very often these other forms will just communicate something new altogether. So even though they're derived from the same root, they're properly the same word, the sense of the word, the gloss, the meaning is sufficiently different enough that it should probably count as a separate word, right?
Also, wasn't he at some point counting like the different forms of a noun as it's declined as different words for his Greek account, like saying, logos, logu,
exactly.
logon, logoi, logon, logois, and logus. That's like 8 different words.
Bro, that's the same root. Stop it.
Yeah, that is a problem.
That's what I expect from him, though.
So one thing I want to point out is that is actually a problem in linguistics, is how many words do you count when you're counting words? And there is no simple answer. There actually isn't even a simple answer as to what is a word. For instance, I've definitely read actual academic publishing linguists say, actually, I think most French sentences compose 1 or 2 words, and that French is actually a polysynthetic language based on our normal definitions, and that like French orthography, splitting all these words up, is actually an artifact of history with its Latin roots, where all these were separate words. But in fact, they actually act like a single word, and technically, I can't say that's wrong. Many French sentences might actually be composed of 1 or 2 words, maybe 3. But when you look at them, they sure have a lot of spaces in there. So yeah. What is a word, says Prixie Purple, who's been a member for 26 months? Something with space on either side? No, actually, that is definitely not what we use as a word. Because in
Yeah.
many cases, those spaces do not correspond very well to anything going on in the language
Boy,
as it's actually
don't
spoken.
I know it. Holy
You
crap.
go
This
far
manuscript,
enough back.
people,
Yeah.
Luis will be writing, and he and others, when they write at this period of time, you don't see word breaks or spaces between words like
Mhm.
you would expect. So if you don't know the language and the vocabulary, you're going to be very confused.
Sylvan
I wanted
epiglottal.
to. I just wanted to. Noise ending. Also said he just affirmed that I said the thing he was thinking, and I that's probably because noise ending has a really damn good Hebrew teacher. I've heard.
Yes.
Heard he's very good.
Sylvan epiglottal stop for 100 Argentinian peso says it's only Hebrew if it doesn't have vowels. Otherwise, it's just sparkly Canaanite. Or sorry, Canaanean. So there you go.
Nice.
I love that Tree Climb Tad is asking you how many words Ultra French has. None.
None. And also all
Has
of
none.
them. All right, here we
Yes,
go.
correct.
Oh, wait. Stephen G. Clinard who's been a member for 26 months, says these questions are much easier to answer the fewer languages you know. That's actually true.
That is true.
Speakers of a
That's right.
language have an intuitive sense of what counts as a word. And if you ask them, they can all pretty much agree on what things are words. But then suddenly you go cross-linguistic and it's like, oh no. Oh, these guidelines from this one language don't work at all. Oops. Actually,
this
ask a
became-
Sumerologist where the word boundaries are in Sumerian.
Yeah.
No one knows.
This became an issue that some people might recognize when Wes Huff made his declaration on the Joe Rogan show about how 1Q Isaiah matches word for word to the Masoretic text,
Which it does not.
and
Word for word?
it resulted in several videos produced on YouTube just on the basis of how to count words in the Great Isaiah Scroll in order to get at an appropriate count of which ones are the same and which ones are different, right?
Yeah.
It's complicated.
DM Wing for $2
Yeah.
says, what is a word? A miserable pile of secrets with a wine glass and handcuff emojis. Well, at least you bought me a drink first. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says evidences is a common word in use. Word use in a reformed apologish. So actually, evidences in using evidence as a count noun is actually the previously correct version. The use of it as a non-count noun is actually relatively recent. And what's happened there is just that in like the one place where the older use has just never gone away tends to be Christian apologetics. And that's actually what's going on there. Is they just never stopped using evidence as a count noun when everyone else did. And you just didn't notice because it happened before you were born for most of you. So, I don't know.
Why would you say but? But is tremendously rich. When you're a linguist, and
I
you got
have to say something about this. I can't not. Look, people who record audio, if you have really strong plosives, like Ammon does here,
Mhm.
use a pop filter, for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. If you really just don't want to buy one that's made for your microphone, use a sock.
Or get a microphone that you can speak not directly into, and then just don't speak directly into it. That's also an option. There's so many
But again,
options.
this is just something if you insist on holding this mic, which is fine to me. I mean, I would recommend he not, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Literally, just use a sock because his plosives are way too strong to be. It's driving me nuts.
So a couple things. Rounder from the chat says, what do you mean by real language? I speak Hebrew. So primarily what I mean by real language is I want you to click on this video, and by giving it a controversial title that is still reasonably accurate, I think it might work. So look, it's the kind of clickbait I'm okay with, which is to say it's not lying about what's going on, but perhaps I could use less sensational.
I mean, it worked, right?
Right, exactly.
Got you in
got
the chat.
So what I actually really mean, and what a more sober and less clickbaity title might be, is Hebrew a natural language? because Ammon Hillman,
Yes.
spoiler alert, he is of the opinion that Hebrew is actually a constructed language that was constructed by Greek-speaking Jews to back translate the Greek scriptures that they wrote into a made-up Hebrew.
No.
And we might not get there
For
today,
reasons.
but next week we'll
Because
probably get there at least.
reasons.
And we
Yeah.
will come up with, we'll give you some reasons why, in addition to just being dumb on the face of it, we know that that's not how that worked. At least as much as we know anything else about languages. Sylvan Epiglottal Stop for 100 Argentinian pesos says, the first description of Chana was very frustrating for Laranga. I don't even know what's going on there.
Ranyaga.
Because they didn't know what words were, and the Laranyaga only knew...
Yaga.
Laranyaga. Are we sure it's Spanish? Oh, yes, because it only knew Spanish. There we go. That's why.
Only
it's-
Spanish and Latin. Yeah.
Got it. So that one was incomprehensible to them. Okay. I don't know which language that is, but I'm assuming it is a native language near Argentina. But I don't know about it. And that is a hard word to say. Laranyaga. Laranyaga. That is a... Come on, Spanish. Normally, you're very easy to pronounce. What are you doing to me?
Man, I've run across so many old Spanish words and compound words in these manuscripts that I've been like, really? Spanish used to be really hard, actually.
Well, good job on Spanish on overall becoming a little bit easier to pronounce.
Simplifying, sort of.
Claude Simeon for $5 says, data should be collective now, not plural. Yeah, see, that's an argument. Like, that's increasingly a common use, is to use data as a non-count noun that is always treated as singular. The data says not, and it doesn't say, and die is cast, not the dice is cast. Prescriptivism forever. Actually,
I
do
will
find
gatekeep some things.
very few people that I know of consistently use die as the singular and dice as the plural. I try. I don't know how successful I am. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says he thinks Hebrew is a conlang. Yes, he does. That is his contention.
It's really idiotic.
It is extremely idiotic. It's essentially impossible, right? Like, there are some languages out there you could be like, oh, maybe this was a conlang, and I'd be like, well, I can't say that it's definitely not, but that seems really unlikely. Like, if you were like, oh yeah, Old Korean was a conlang, I'd be like, well, it's a language isolate, so like I can't disprove it. Like, there's nothing else it's related to that I could do some historical linguistics on or whatever. So like, I don't think so. That doesn't seem likely. But can I prove it? No, not really. Sylvan Epiglottal Stop for 100 Argentinian pesos says, fun fact, if you say evidences within a 10-kilometer radius of Aaron Ra, he turns into a raging green monster and goes into a destructive rampage. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm with, I think it's Bregwin in the chat who says if you want to get really pedantic, then all languages are conlangs, but still.
No, that's not true, though, because a conlang is a language that's intentionally constructed by a single person as a result of, like, their intentional creation, whereas natlangs are things that emerge from collective speech communities without any particular intention, which means you actually could argue that modern Hebrew is a conlang based on biblical Hebrew. You could actually make that argument. I don't think it's a terribly good argument, but you could make the argument. But you can't make that argument for most languages that are actually spoken because no one intended to make them that way. The reason I don't think it's a very good argument for Hebrew is because the vast majority of the grammar and lexicon of modern Hebrew is not, in fact, something that was intended by anyone.
Tree Clam Tad is saying you missed a couple super chats.
I will go through and look for them. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, I thought he was dumb for thinking that Tanakh was entirely written in the Hellenistic period. Now my assessment of his intelligence has dropped. Yeah, that happened to me.
I mean, every time he speaks, it gets lower, and it was already, like, below the floor.
Yeah, here we go. Tree Clam Tat for $5 says, the shibboleth for this community being word for word is confusing in several different ways, historical and linguistics. Let's see. Lieutenant Math the Navigator for $5 says, apologist refusing to get with the times is on brand.
On brand.
Although the thing is, I wouldn't call Ammon Hillman an apologist. He's just a wacko of a different stripe, a unique stripe.
He's just a crank.
Yeah, because you will be hard-pressed to find anyone who's a Christian who would agree with anything this guy says.
Yeah, and also it turns out that have you considered nuh-uh isn't exactly how you're going to convince people that you're doing proper scholarship or linguistics or history or anything.
Sylvan Epiglottal Stop says, I'd say it's only a conlang if there's an artistic intention behind it. Otherwise, even Proto-Indo-European would be a conlang. See, I think that it doesn't have to necessarily be an artistic intention. I just think it has to be an intention to create a language without that being the natural outcome of a speech community. That's usually going to have some kind of artistic purpose. I don't know of too many conlangs that don't. I guess you could say that like Oxlangs, like Esperanto or Volapük, the one everyone forgets about. Maybe they're not artistic. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to hit play.
Guys, for the language, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Of the 13,962 words in classical Hebrew, 6,556 are homonyms.
He sounds drunk. And also, homonyms? Who cares, bro?
Yeah. I also want to point out, he didn't point out how many Greek or English words are homonyms, because it's also a large number for those languages. Especially if you go for modern Greek, because modern Greek has significantly reduced the number of phonemes it has compared to classical or even Koine Greek. And Koine Greek already had a reduced number of phonemes compared to classical Greek. For instance, if you go to like a Protestant seminary, they're usually going to teach you this weird hybrid pronunciation where the vowels are largely taken from classical Greek, but the consonants are mostly taken from like a reconstruction of first century Greek.
What?
And that's because the consonants in first century Greek are easier to pronounce for English speakers, whereas the vowel distinctions are often important for like parsing out what a sentence says. But a lot of them had merged by the time of the first century. So they're just like, let's just make up a new pronunciation that no one ever used. And it's like, I mean, okay, you can, but like, yeah, Greek actually has this thing where it has increasing amounts of homonyms as time goes on, because one of the consistent trends was reducing the number of vowels that are actually distinct vowels.
Can I please read the super chat?
Yeah, go for it.
Tree Clam Tad for $2 writes, Dollar Tree Billy Corgan has opinions about Hebrew.
For $5, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator says, what's he doing to that microphone? What he's doing to that microphone. I got it.
Yeah.
What he's doing to that microphone is something he should really get consent for.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you believe in it.
No, I know. It's a problem. So,
I mean, I'm not aware of any such accusations against Ammon Hillman, but I wouldn't be like shocked. Are there any?
We should probably not.
I'm just going to take that as a yes. Let's see. Roshina for $4.99 says, Richard Carrier's 2025 critique rejects Hillman's philological and historical premises and contends that mainstream exegesis does not support his readings. I mean, Richard Carrier is correct about that. He's wrong about most things, but he's correct about that. It's crazy to me that Ammon Hillman...
irony in that hilarious.
It's crazy to me that Ammon Hillman is so bad that like Richard Carrier seems like the sane one in the room whenever those two might be in a room together.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Famous non-Hebraist Richard Carrier.
Yeah.
Seriously.
For $5, Stephen G. Clinard says, if ancient Hebrew is such a dumb language, Hillman ought to be able to learn it in his spare time, right?
Right? Exactly. He should be able to do it in...
Right. If it's so simple and it has so few words, just learn it in a weekend.
He will
I'm sure
often
they can
say...
do it. There's all these people that said they've read the Talmud and they did it in a weekend. So, hey, man.
I have often heard him say that you can use up all the Hebrew words, all 8,198 Hebrew words by the time you're finished your breakfast in a day.
No one does that. No one.
No. And by that metric, like it should, exactly, it should take no time at all.
Most people have trouble breaking like 5,000 words, different words in a day. Like you might be able to speak 5,000 words total, right? But that's going to be repeat words. Unique words, very few people get up to like the several thousands in their daily speech. Is it hypothetically possible for you to use 9,000 words in a day? Yeah, but that would have to be like the goal you set out with.
Yeah,
like,
and you would probably be the most pretentious person that's ever walked the earth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right.
All right, here we go.
According to Gilad Zuckerman, the number of attested biblical Hebrew words is 8,198.
Yeah, you already said that.
Look at this. They're counting. Guys, get your counts down. Right? Come on, man.
Yeah, he is on
what does that even
so
mean?
many chemicals right now. My goodness.
We're gonna let him get through this sentence, and then we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with refresh drinks and everything, and then we'll continue on. And hey, who knows?
Okay.
Maybe OBS will crash during that time.
Thousand or hapax.
Yeah.
The number of attested biblical Hebrew words is 8198. The number of attested biblical Hebrew words is 8,679.
He sounds so drunk.
8,000.
Yep.
What about the Greek?
We'll get.
Speaking
what
of
about
words,
the Greek
what
afterwards?
qualifies as a word, and if there are spaces between them? I don't think he had spaces between most of those words.
No.
No.
If we want, I can go through real quick the most basic linguistics definition for what a word is, and that is it is a series of speech sounds within which a set of phonotactic rules apply. And phonotactic rules are which sounds can and can't occur and how they can occur within the boundaries of a word. And yes, it's circular, and I don't have an answer to that problem for
A
you.
word is whatever we call a word. I mean, come on.
But
This is
basically,
just how humans are.
if you can usually identify these like lexical, like phonotactic rules, right? Like, oh, we don't let these consonants stand next to each other in a word. Okay, cool. So if you ever come to an utterance in which those consonants come next to each other in that order that they're normally not allowed to, you can reasonably say you've come to a new word, because at that boundary, the phonotactic rules usually don't apply. Of course, some of the problems are some languages have very few phonotactic rules, like English. English has like almost no phonotactic rules. It's crazy. We have words like
English
strengths.
just kind of does whatever.
Strengths might be the most absurd word I've ever heard in any language. And yet there it is, just as a normal word, everyday word in English, just strengths. Like, okay, thanks, English, for all occurring in a consonant, and then in another consonant that cluster at the end. What the hell? Anyway, Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says we should do a poll as in.
Wait. Because he clarified, we should do a poll as to the intoxicants he's on.
I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, so I'm not going to, but type your ideas in the chat. All right, we're going to get out of here for just a little bit. We're going to come back, and we will continue on with Ammon Hillman, and we're going slower than even for us, we're going kind of slow. So, yeah, we'll be right back. Hey, we are back. Vishanti is still not quite back with us, but she asked that we go ahead on without her. We will sojourn without Vishanti for a little bit. Now that we're back, I want to say, well, first I want to read the super chat from Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5, who said, I suspect this man is intimately familiar with the smell of permanent markers. That does not seem terribly unlikely to me. All right, so for those of you who may not be aware, which is probably not very many of you, this channel is almost entirely supported directly through the support of my viewers, right? Whether it be through super chats, whether it be through gifting memberships, whether it be super stickers, the Patreon, all that stuff. So I will try to make it quick this time because I want to get through a little bit more of this video. But if you like what you see here, if you want to support, please check those out. The Patreon is where I get to keep the most of it. Patreon starts at $1 a month. You can get a 15% discount for going annually. The memberships right below this video, there's a join button. It starts at $1.99. Both of them give you early access to my scripted videos, which they're months worth right now, just sitting there waiting for you. Both of them give you access to my Discord server. That's just for supporters. And there are higher perks at higher tiers. So yeah, please consider that. I also do have a wish list where you can do things like get me all sorts of things, from like books to there's like you could crowdfund me a gift card for DoorDash. There's snacks, costuming things. I even have costuming things. So like, yeah, if you want to, feel free to check that out. Also, if you want to help me get animations done faster, one thing you can do is you can what's called rendering for me, where basically I use a render farm. And if you want to help me get my animations out faster, you can just check the section in the description called How to Render for Me. You download the client, you use the login information there, and it will help me get my animation done faster. Let's see. That's it for the commercial. Roshina for $1.99 says, Ammon gives responsible opium users a bad name. Oof. Wow. Sylvan Epiglottal Stop for 200 Argentinian pesos says, don't be a Hebrew denier, like and share instead. I agree. Don't be a Hebrew denier, like and share. All right. So with that being said, I think we are ready to get going. Here we go.
If you have 8,000 words,
okay,
you can speak your entire vocabulary within hours of waking up.
That's not true.
There you go.
I'm just going to take a drink because that's incredibly dumb. It's incredibly dumb.
You can if you're on amphetamines.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Maybe if you're on heavy stimulants, then maybe. Part of the problem is most people don't actually actively know their entire vocabulary. Like if you said to someone, "Hey, list all the words you know," you would have trouble doing it. So that's just not how people work. Sorry.
It's easy to count when you're a baby.
Right. Where it's like mama, dada, no.
My grandson is adorable. And he knows, as near as I can tell, he knows like 3 words. He seems to be saying mom a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's also saying da da nah a lot. But then he also likes to say haga. He does that a lot too. So, and that's it. That seems to be
that
it.
But third one might not even be a word.
It might not be. I feel like it is though, because it's usually when he's got a ball and he's throwing the ball. So he's connecting. I feel like he's constantly making that connection there. But,
okay. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says Bill Burr's More Obnoxious Brothers Facebook Live. Yeah. Joshua Keys for $5 says from Stephen G. Clinard, which by the way, only render to Dapper what is Dapper is if you can afford it, please. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $2 says no is a word Richard Carrier is unfamiliar with. No, he's very familiar with it. He just doesn't care about it. There's a big difference.
Doesn't care.
Yeah. Not being familiar with it would imply that everyone said yes, which is not the case. That's far worse. All right, here we go.
Yeah. How can a language function on 8,000 words when 3,000 of those are hapax
Maybe
legomena.
I have a suggestion here. Maybe Ammon, if you're really interested in knowing the answer to this question, you should learn the goddamn language.
Yeah.
And you'll figure it out.
And there's a few other things. So for one thing, languages really don't need terribly many words past like 6,000 to get through most conversations. Second, no language as it's being spoke has hapax legomena other than like neologisms that just don't catch on. A hapax legomenon is an artifact of having an ancient texts that preserve a fraction of the texts and the speech used in that language. So it's sort of like saying like, how could you speak Latin when no one's around to teach you how to pronounce it? How could the Romans have ever pronounced it? There was no one there to teach them, just like today. No, they all spoke it. That's how it works. And now we don't. So now we're not entirely sure how it was pronounced, even though we do have a good idea.
This is one of those things where it's not even we're not talking about slang either. It's not like, oh, unless somebody writes a novel that gets preserved with the word skibbity in it.
Yeah.
We're talking about just words, random words, like you hear them all the time or you use them in sentences, but just for whatever reason, they didn't get written down more than once in the literature that we still have. So,
and one thing to think about that is like every word that we have preserved in the Bible from Hebrew has a number of occurrences, right? That range from 1 up to very high numbers, right? Like I'm sure that the pronouns like who and he and whatnot have very high, occurrence numbers.
Yeah.
But the fact that some of them have down to
who
1,
is he?
we're not doing the who's on third in Hebrew, not today.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a terrible joke because in Hebrew, who is he?
I know.
And he is she.
Yeah, I remember learning that and being kind of confused and then realizing, you know what? It doesn't have to make sense to me. It's an entirely different language. But the fact that some of them are 1 mean that there are a whole bunch of other words that existed that were used in Hebrew, both in speech and in literature, where the number of recorded instances in the Bible is 0. I'll give you a cool example. Hey, Kip, how many times we have the archaeological remains of house cats in the area where Hebrew was spoken, right? So they had house cats. Do you think there was an ancient Hebrew word for house cat?
No, couldn't have been.
No, because it wasn't in the Bible, right? It didn't make it.
It wasn't there.
Yep. That's how that works. All right, Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $5 says, let's not forget the huge difference between the size of one's spoken vocabulary versus reading vocabulary. That's also true. With Mothra, trans right flag, which is trans pride, I don't know. Then Ghidorah, then trans flag, and then Godzilla, and again, yes, trans rights, and we'll take a drink. So yeah, it turns out the number of words that are so what Metageek is getting at is this thing in language learning and in linguistics called the expressive receptive gap. You are able to produce fewer words than you are able to recognize. So there will be times when you are reading even your native language and you will come across a word that you never use and that would never come to your mind. So therefore you can't express it, but you recognize it. And so you know what it means when you come across it. Lieutenant Matt, First, Claude Simeon for $5 says, heard a version of Space Oddity using only the 100 most common English words. Not even all numbers from 10 down to 1 are included at that point. Huh. That is a really small number of words. Yeah, that would be interesting. Let's see. Sylvan Epiglottal Stop for 100 Argentinian pesos says, how can a language work with 8,000 words? Toki Pona, this looks like a job for me. For this to make sense, we need to pretend Toki Pona is a functional language. Well, yeah, so I don't want to get into my rant about how Toki Pona actually doesn't have as few words as it says it does when you're talking about lexical entries, which is what they're talking about. Because in order to actually have a conversation in a group of Toki Pona speakers, you have to have conventions about compound words that actually have opaque meanings based on what just the word is, which means that's just a new word. That's a new lexical entry. It might not be a new word in the dictionary that you write separately, but it is a new lexical entry that you would have to know.
Also, Metageeky Platypus Librarian writes, it also leads to fun mispronunciations. I once read epitome as epitome or epitome.
I've heard a lot of people say epitome.
This is the same thing that happened to me, not to me personally, like in high school, but one of my classmates was in theater class with me and said Sepultura.
Ooh.
The band Sepultura, and I was like, ouch.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $5 says, the record of ancient texts is often less complete than the fossil record of sauropod skulls. Oof. I don't know if you guys know, but sauropod skulls are rather rare. They're not well
Mhm.
known compared to their other bones. So yeah, I don't know the degree to which Ammon knows that these are bad arguments because I can't see inside of his brain. However, it is hard for me to believe that these are good faith arguments from anyone who has any higher learning on any language related topic, especially when it comes from like classical linguistics, where we know that we don't have records of all the words of any classical language. We just know that. It's like a mathematical certainty. So I'll hit play.
It can't. They don't. Modern Hebrew has around 40 to 60,000.
Which is
Do
actually
you think
probably
maybe that's because they borrowed from languages like Arabic, a cognate language in the Afroasiatic tree?
Mhm.
Freaking dork.
And also, that's probably closer to how many ancient Hebrew actually had in use when it was being written down. And that's one thing to remember is we have in the Hebrew scriptures a tiny fraction of what's been written in Hebrew. And a large part of that is because the people who were speaking Hebrew underwent numerous upheavals, including conquests, attempted genocides, not usually by just outright killing everyone, but sometimes by trying to outright kill everyone. And these are the texts that were the most important that they kept.
Yeah, people were a lot more motivated to keep holy things and liturgical things.
Yep.
Than they were just, random vernacular.
Mhm.
It's
And so-
actually kind of uncommon for us to find just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of just everyday records, which is why things like from Ugarit and like Assyrian tablets and ancient Sumerian tablets are such a big deal. It's like, look at all this stuff. It's pretty banal, but it's awesome. Look at all this stuff.
And also, one thing that cuneiform has as an advantage is that clay tablets last basically forever, whereas vellum doesn't.
It rots.
Does not.
Natural materials do tend to rot.
Yeah. So it's easier to write on. It's easier to transport. It's faster to write on.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of advantages to writing on animal skins, but durability just isn't
This
one
is
of them.
why, this would be like saying, oh, there just weren't that many people living in the ancient world because we don't have their houses.
Right? As if houses
If they were
last
building
forever.
stuff out of wood, of course not. This is why the things that are made out of rocks tend to last a really long time.
And also, unlike
God.
Greek and Latin, Hebrew speakers never had a period where they were sending out colonists across the Mediterranean that were then preserving
Jeez.
separate libraries. Nor did they
Very
have a
true.
period where they were
Yeah.
conquering the entire Middle East and therefore spreading
Yeah,
their
unlike-
language.
Alexander taking Greek all the way into freaking India.
Right. There are ancient Greek Buddhist texts. That's a thing that exists.
There are Greco-Buddhist statues.
Yep. Also a thing. A weird thing that you never think about, but it's there. Tree Clam Tad for $2 says, how was your copper delivery, Vish?
If I could give this 0 stars, I would. Nasher jokes never get old.
They really don't. It's been like 6,000 years and they're still not old.
Imagine being that bad at your job.
6,000 years
The
later.
oldest Yelp review is a meme 6,000 years later.
Here we
And
go.
Aaron Nasher from the grave is like, but you do remember me.
Right.
It's
I like
growing.
that Egyptomaniac points out clay tablets, the only writing material that gets better preserved when the library burns down.
This
That's
is
true.
true, unfortunately.
Get wrecked, papyrus.
Don't get any ideas, people.
Right? Modern Hebrew was a recreation of a dead language.
It's
It wasn't
not a
dead in the
recreation.
way that he's trying to make it sound.
Yeah, it is a revival with some modifications to a liturgical language that was never
Liturgical language.
extinct, which is what he seems to be getting at.
Mm.
It was dead
Yeah.
in the sense that, so there's a difference between an extinct language and a dead language. An extinct language has no speakers and no realistic possibility of being learned. That's an extinct language. A dead language is a language which has no population who speaks it as their first language. So Latin is a dead language. Sanskrit is a dead language, but other languages are extinct. So, for instance,
Yeah, and it's like, look, when a language doesn't have people speaking it as their first language and it's not having new words added, that's different than no one speaks it, no one knows what it sounds like, no one knows what the words mean.
Yeah.
That's not something that's ever happened in Hebrew.
Actually, even if it is getting new words, I'd still say it might be dead. I'd say Latin is still a dead language, even though new words come into Latin all the time, because it remains.
Is that right?
So
Wow.
because it is the official language of a sovereign nation, new words have to come in
Right.
to refer to new
That's
things.
true.
So
Okay, yeah. That's
Latin
fair.
actually does get new words from time to time. There's an official
Mhm.
Latin word for motorcycle, for example. I don't know what it is, but it exists.
Mm.
Okay. Right
So
on.
It's probably motorcycle.
It might be.
as it goes with
It
with
might
a
be,
lot
yeah.
of these.
But motorcycle is a
languages.
Greek word. They might have Latinized it.
Right.
A Sylvan
Yeah.
epiglottal stop for 100 Argentinian peso says, let's remember their Nasir complaint tablets plural. Oh, okay. They're like THY apostrophe. Okay.
I think
Let's
he
remember.
must-
Yeah.
accidentally
It's
a word.
wrong there. It's fine. Let's remember. Their Nasir complaint tablets plural. Homeboy loved his haters.
Homeboy loved his haters.
Fair.
Yeah.
They'll grow their vocabulary. Yes, as all languages do.
Yeah, and so, Ammon, why does that not mean for you? Why does that not lead you to the conclusion that perhaps that was the case for Hebrew, and we only have a relatively small section of the literature from the time that has been preserved, and that is a better explanation than what you're going to say, which is that Hebrew was made up by Greek scribes?
Listen, I've heard a lot of really fucking stupid ideas in my time.
Yeah, I'm taking another
That's
drink. I
in
just
like
can't.
the top 5.
Seriously, that is flat Earth level nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Circle means sphere. No, it doesn't. Stop.
60,000 is functional.
No, 60,000 is far more than most people will ever need. Most people don't know 60,000 words.
3,000 to 4,000 is not.
Actually, for most conversations, it is.
Languages.
Most
for most
people.
Are
people-
there
it's fine.
languages with like known languages with fewer words?
I don't know about
than
fewer
that?
than 3,000, but some languages do have relatively small word counts. It's usually groups
Yeah.
that do not have a lot of contact with other groups and who tend to have a low level of
Right.
technology, so that there are just fewer things in their world they have to talk about. So for instance,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
languages in
There's some
like
tribes in the
the Amazon,
Brazilian
yeah.
Amazon.
Or
Yeah.
even in some places in like deep in the Andaman Islands and places like that, you will find
I
groups that
was
have a very
literally about to
small.
say that.
Oh, okay. You'll find people groups with a very small vocabulary in terms of their language, but that's again because they don't have that wider context where they need words for these things. They don't have a word for computer because they've never seen one.
Why would they?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Is not.
In the same way.
There is something wrong here.
Yeah. It's a
What?
lot of So yeah, there is something wrong here. You're right, Ammon.
There's a
There was
reason
something
that
wrong with his
Julius Africanus having his debates with Origen and the Christians on where is this language in the Septuagint coming from.
I don't.
Uh,
The language of the Septuagint is just Greek. I don't think that anyone was having the debate with early Christians about where the language of the Septuagint came from, because it's Greek.
It was Greek.
Everyone knows where
Yeah.
that came from. It came from Greece.
There's a reason he
What?
says this is Greek. There's no way your made up story about 72 dudes going into 72 different rooms and coming out with this translation of Greek from
that's
some
called a
Hebrew
legend, bro.
Right. Yeah. Let's just take a drink, because as far as I know, no one today is arguing that the legend of the 70 and the older legend of the 72 is historical. I don't know of anyone who thinks that.
No.
Look, I know personally a number of Eastern Orthodox Christians, and that is that's generally just still the Bible for the Eastern Orthodox Church, is the Septuagint. When they translate the Bible into other languages for non-Greek speaking churches, they generally start with the Septuagint. I don't think I've ever heard any of them say that the legend of the 70 is accurate and historical. They pretty much are all like, yeah, it was a bunch of people over some time who made this translation.
This is the same sort of brain dead, like r/atheist nonsense where it's like everything has to be a truth claim. No, it actually doesn't. That's not how legends work.
Shh, I was never here in the chat says the legend is historical in an alternate timeline. Yeah, maybe.
Right?
Lieutenant Math Navigator for $2 says Paul Bunyan was a legend. Trees don't exist. That is the conclusion. Yeah, if Paul Bunyan wasn't real, then trees clearly didn't exist.
Yeah, trees don't exist.
Yeah, don't exist. And also, the Grand Canyon is made up because, as we all remember, the Grand Canyon was dug out by Paul Bunyan dragging his axe behind him.
Yeah,
So,
but since Paul Bunyan's not real, the Grand Canyon doesn't exist. Everybody knows that.
Those memories of me going there several times, fake.
No.
False memories. They were probably implanted by some kind of them. They implanted them via post-hypnotic suggestion. Yeah, the them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which we all know ends up in most people's cases just meaning the Jews. So I'm going to blame Vishanti personally.
Man, I really wish I had a fraction of the power and the money that people think we do.
Right.
Because I would not be in any of the situations that I've needed help with in the last year and a half.
Seriously. Well, it's just because you refuse to go dig up your secret Jew gold. Just go dig it up. What do you say? What are you saving it for? Come on.
If not now, when?
Right, exactly. It's like the people in the video games who never use the weapon enhancements because they're a limited resource. Like you're just never going to use it.
I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it, and you get to the end. Yeah. Jeez.
No way. No way. It's Greek.
Yes, the Septuagint is Greek. No one's arguing with that.
Yes, the Septuagint is Greek. Good job there.
I don't know of anyone who's like, oh, actually, the Septuagint was really written in Dalmatian. No, no one thinks that.
It'd be funny.
I did try to pick the most obscure which I could.
I wish I had the Julius Africanus quote that he draws on constantly in front of me, because he gets this wrong too. Like he's not even reading this correctly. Like this wasn't this as with so many things that Ammon Hillman does. He has a general comprehension problem. So it and it creates all sorts of problems in terms of what he wants to assert.
Pegajace giant boobs in the chat says, Vishanti, you mean you don't have Soros on speed dial? The older or the younger?
The thing
Soros el viejo or Soros el mosto?
The thing that bugs me a lot about the whole Soros thing is that because he's the subject of a bunch of crazy anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, I feel like if I point out that he's actually no shit a legitimate piece of shit, that no, everyone's like, oh, yeah. Well, that's just because the thing is, he's a currency manipulator who's probably caused the death of hundreds of thousands of people through economic ruin, and then it's like, oh, but sometimes he donates to some progressive causes, and I'm like, I would like
both of those things can be true.
Yeah, I would like to be able to point out the degree to which he's a piece of shit, but I feel like whenever I do,
Bill Gates is a philanthropist, and bro was all over them Epstein files.
Yep.
So
I feel like if I ever talk about the problems that Soros has, all that's going to happen is a bunch of anti-Semites are going to come out of the woodwork to be like, oh, we're going to follow your channel. And I don't want that. So I don't know what to do there.
So Pegajace, the Darwin mythicist, for $5 rates Ron Wyatt discovering Paul Bunyan's axe.
He would too. Actually, I disparaged Ron Wyatt in my stream with Will Duffy, and I do not know how that went down, because I don't know the degree to which Will Duffy is a Ron Wyatt fan. I don't think he's much of one. But I realized after I said, I was like, Will might be a fan. I don't know.
If he
sorry.
Don't let me find out, because I will absolutely not go easy on him.
So I'll say this. Most of the Christians that I know of do not talk about Ron Wyatt, and when they do, they usually don't seem to be accepting. It seems to be sort of a fringe within evangelical Christianity, which is already a fringe on the stage of Christianity as a whole. So I wouldn't be shocked if Will Duffy was a fan, but I wouldn't say that he probably is. I'd say he probably isn't. I'd give it a 60-40.
Might be aware of the claims. I don't think that he finds them credible. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Nin Jester for $2 says, correct. I never use them. I stack them at the exit. Yeah, that's what you do with all those video game items. The weird thing is, all it takes to break that chain is to give some even onerous way to make them not a limited resource. Just make it so oh, you want to use the greases in Dark Souls? Well, if you give 100,000 souls to some vendor, they'll just give you another like fire grease that you can use on your weapons, and then suddenly the psychological like bind that the limited use has on you just breaks, even though that's way too many souls to pay for something to just add fire damage to your weapon.
But wait a minute. If the Old Testament is Greek,
Which it's not. The Septuagint
not.
is.
Nope.
The
Septuagint
Septuagint
is,
is
but-
Greek. Yep.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So
But-
let's take a
yeah,
drink for false
okay.
premise there. That's really, really dumb.
Mhm.
If I set
Okay.
up a false premise, then it follows that.
My God,
Bullshit.
I've been script writing a response to a Walter Veith video, and that is basically that guy's entire MO is just start with a false premise and then ask a question and say, oh, see, this is a problem for evolution.
Do you think
Why
he
do we-
knows that there are Hebrew words in the Septuagint?
He does now because I've heard people tell him.
Oh,
It's also
okay,
funny to
that's
me
good.
that we have things like the apotropaic amulets that contain like an early version of the priestly blessing, and he's just like unaware of them.
Well,
Yeah.
he's not involved in the scholarship for Hebrew at all.
He can't be. He doesn't know. I mean, yeah. What
Why would he
what are
be?
you going to do, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
what you could do is you could learn a little bit, at least enough to understand the arguments that people are having.
we have a
Lots
Hebrew
of people who
version.
don't
Why would he
read
do
Hebrew
that?
do that.
He just wants to make up his own bullshit. He's just coming
Okay,
up with
well,
like
let me get through.
alt history on the fly.
Let me get through a few words of his, guys.
Okay.
Why do we
As
have
he's
a
silent.
Hebrew?
Jesus Christ, Kip, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm going to mute you.
I barely said anything today. Anything
It doesn't
at
matter.
all.
I said let him get
Christ.
through a few words, and then you interrupt
Whatever.
again before he even finishes the sentence.
He was
Let him-
not saying anything. It was funny.
Oh my God! I don't want to have to keep rewinding him so I can know what this sentence
Fine.
is.
Is Greek. Why do we have a Hebrew version?
Because it's the original
What?
that is
It was
translated.
written in Hebrew first, you absolute moron.
Fun fact. Not all of it written in Hebrew either.
Some of it in Aramaic.
Some of it
Yeah.
was written in
So it
Aramaic.
is in Arabic, yeah.
Which is weird. Like, what if you're translating the Greek text back into this other invented language? Why are you
Switching.
including Aramaic in these weird places with these weird transitions? Like, it's
They're just doing it for
yeah.
the love of the game, Kip.
that's it.
Yeah, it's a historical verisimilitude. They were very concerned about that when they were translating
Yeah.
the Greek back into a
That's it.
invented language. Sylvan,
You've even got like there's a sorry, I was just gonna like there's a single sentence of Aramaic that appears in Jeremiah chapter 25. Just a sentence. And
Just
it's
because, yeah.
yes,
Like, all right.
exactly.
Sure.
So
a scribe was just having fun
Okay.
that day.
Yeah. Again, just for the love of the game.
Sylvan Epiglottal Stop for 100 Argentinian pesos says, Ron Wyatt was a Seventh-day Adventist, so he used to be promoted within the church, and he still appears in some documentaries, though nowadays not by name. Eventually, the church decided he wasn't a good face for them. Well, I mean, he
How
definitely
about
wasn't. Also, here's a fun
Nope.
thing. I note in several places in my script that according to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Walter Veith, the Seventh-day Adventist, is a conspiracy theorist, according to them, and a spiritual abuser. Again, according to them. So...
wow.
yeah, even the officialdom of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is like, we don't want anything to do with Walter Veith. He was also banned from speaking in any Seventh-day Adventist churches or other facilities owned by church leadership. And also, he was banned from setting foot inside any Seventh-day Adventist church in the entire country of Germany.
Hmm.
Wow.
Wow.
Because he has Holocaust conspiracy theories, of course.
They're pretty sensitive about that over
Yeah.
there.
Now, I want to be fair. He's not a Holocaust denier. He does say that the reported number of people actually died in a genocide. He just blames it on the Freemasons and the Jesuits.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And he says that the reason that the Jesuits and the Freemasons orchestrated it was because they wanted to be able to move the remaining Jews into Palestine to create a new state that would secretly be under the thumb of the Freemasons and the Jesuits.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So basically, it was a false flag to get Israel established for some reason. Yep.
Yeah. And is that Hebrew version accurate?
What does he mean?
It's the original,
What
so
by
yeah,
that?
is he
What does that
talking about?
mean? What is
it's original to the accurate in that
accurate?
it's accurate to the original in that it is the original. It's like if I pull out my copy
even-
of like Beowulf in Anglo-Saxon and ask, is it accurate? Well, I mean, yeah, of course it is.
But even
It's the original.
even flipping this question around properly, and asking this question of the Septuagint, is the Septuagint accurate? You still have to go back and go, what do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, because
Like it-
translation is not a mechanical, objective thing that humans do. All translations are subjective. All translations miss things. All translations introduce new things that weren't in the original, and there is no way around that. Like that's just not a thing. Let's see. Lieutenant Math Navigator for $5 says, we respond to serious people on this channel, don't we? No.
Yes.
I will say this. When I do lives, I go for lower hanging fruit, specifically because that way I can respond to it live without needing to do lots and lots of extra research. I do try to usually have a slightly higher caliber for my scripted videos, but then sometimes I need a break and I just see whatever nonsense like Roger from Mud Fossil U has been up to. But sometimes we do serious people. I mean, I'm sure Ammon Hillman takes himself very seriously.
Very seriously.
He is a serious scholar of Greek.
Very serious.
Very serious. And he is a very serious scholar of getting high as balls.
Just
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm not going to knock that part. But, like, I don't know, maybe don't have weed thoughts as your entire academic career. I don't
Or
know.
methamphetamine thoughts.
Well,
Can you take 8,000 words and turn them into 150,000?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Because sometimes a word in one language has the semantic... Okay, we're going to have to talk about some linguistics concepts. Do you guys know about the semantic landscape?
I feel like I probably do.
By the way,
as
we
soon
finished
as
the
you
goal.
Explain it.
So after I
very
explain the
good.
semantic landscape, we're gonna do some English as she spoke, and also we can say fuck.
Yay! Fuck.
Yeah,
I
Tree
mean, I've
Clam
already
Tad.
said it at least once.
Yeah, but that was only once.
God damn it.
Tree Clam Tad for $2 says, "I would rather be watching Roger from Mud Fossil University." You know what? Understandable.
Roger's kind of, I don't know. He's lovably clueless. I don't know. There's this. There's something. Ammon Hillman is menacing. In a way that Roger just is not.
That's true. If I ran
Right.
into both Roger and Ammon on separate days in like
I
dark
would-
alleys, I'd be much more comfortable with Roger around.
Yeah, and I would be. I would just have to. I would have to work really, really
Yeah.
hard just to not punch him in the face. Right, like just as soon as you see him, you just. I would no. I would never do that. I would never just punch anyone in the face. But you know what? Sometimes that takes work.
Mhm.
So this is one of those times, right?
For $4.99,
Um,
Roshina says one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish accurate? I don't know. It
Yes.
must be. All right, so we're going to talk about semantic landscape real quick. All right, so I will give an easy example that I think actually Vishanti will be familiar with. So the first thing is the semantic landscape says that all the possible meanings for any word can be imagined as existing at different points on like a plane, and different, we can say that the frequency of the need for that concept can be correlated to like height on like a terrain map, right? And so words tend to cluster around peaks in this landscape, right? The kinds of concepts we tend to need to express frequently tend to get words that cluster around them. But different languages put different words with slightly different boundaries around these concepts. And so one thing is, I'll say most languages have a single word for blue. Some languages have a word that linguists call gru, which refers to both green and blue. But Russian has two different words for blue, one for dark blue and one for lighter blue. And if you're translating a text from, say, English into Russian, it will probably be pretty clear from the context which version of blue you mean. So, for instance, if you're talking about the blue of like the deep ocean, you're probably going to use the Russian word for dark blue. But if you're talking about the blue of like a bright summer sky, you're probably going to end up using the Russian word for light blue. So yes, because different languages have different words that will intersect in different ways when you're translating, you can in fact get a larger number of words out of a smaller number of words. That is entirely possible. So, if a particular Hebrew word can be reasonably translated, depending on context, into more than one Greek word, then translators going from Hebrew to Greek will be likely to translate that word in more than one way without it being dishonest or inaccurate in any particular way. And that's what happens. If you go from a language with a lot of words, because I'm not going to argue that Greek didn't have more words than Hebrew. It did, most likely. Although Hebrew had far more than 8,000 in reality. Doesn't matter though, because you can still get more words out of the translation than you had in the target language that you're translating from. That's the other way around. You get more words in the target language that you're translating to than you had in the original language. That is trivially simple to understand. But one of the problems is, guess who doesn't actually do any real translation work except from Greek to English? Ammon Hillman. And English is similarly wordy, and often, because of the heavy influence of Latin and Greek, has similar semantic scopes for a lot of words, especially ones that come from Greek, because they came from Greek. But that's not going to be true for Hebrew to Greek. And so yeah, it's actually not that hard to get multiple words out of a single word in Hebrew when you're translating into a different language. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says,
Maynard, it's just the dumbest argument that I encounter on a regular basis, and it's one of these arguments that feels like I'm being constantly gaslit by how stupid it is. Where I'm going, like, oh, what am I missing by not seeing?
Oh, you're missing how dumb it is.
Like, it's just that dumb.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that dumb. It's just not how anything works. There is no barrier, really, to the translation of anything from one language to another.
Yeah, and there's also nothing shocking about having a larger number of words in the Septuagint than in the Masoretic text.
Exactly.
It's just not that surprising.
One of the reasons for that as well is the nature of what the Septuagint is.
I'll get to you, Tree Clam Tad, I promise.
Sorry. Well, it's Tree Clam Tad, so I'm not sorry. But like it is not, as all translations are interpretive. They are interpretations of texts, and there's lots of times where the Septuagint is very obviously making interpretive decisions of the Hebrew-based text in front of it.
As any translator has to do.
As any translator, and sometimes there are unnecessary things too, right? Where not only is the Septuagint translator trying to just provide a faithful rendering of the Hebrew text into Greek, he's trying to smooth things that are maybe a little bit rougher in the text in the first place. And that creates lots of times additional material.
All right, we're going to read a couple super chats, and we're going to do some English as she spoke, and then we might actually be getting out of here. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says, Maynard James Keenan's Dorian Gray portrait. Oh, no. Tree Clam Tat for another $2 says, Kip, where you're going, we don't need eyes to see.
That's scary.
I actually just heard a rumor of a sequel to that movie, and I don't know if that's true.
What?
And no. Do you not want a sequel? Is this? Event Horizon. The 40K prequel movie. Templar Warden for 5 Kiwi bucks. There we go. But have you considered more numbers is more better? I had not considered that. All right, here we go. We're still doing dialogues. This is from English as she spoke with an innkeeper. That is the topic here. What you give us for to take supper?
Sounds kinky.
Gentlemen, what you will have? Give us a pigeon couple, a piece of ham, and a salad. What have us expended? The account, one word. The account? Oh no, that's actually one word.
The account.
Oh, the next few words are all one word. The account mountain little, the supper, the bed. Oh, sorry, the bed and the breakfast, shall get up at 30 francs. So that whole thing right there is the account mouth and little, the supper, the bed, the bed and the breakfast shall get up at 30 francs. There we go. Yep. From the housekeeping, I don't know more what I won't with they servants. I tell the same, it is not more some good servants. Any one take care to sweep, neither to make fire at what I may be up. How the times are changed. Anciently, I had some servants who were divine my thought. The duty was done at the instant all things were cleanly hold. One may look on furnitures, now as you do see. It is too different. Whole is covered from dust. The pier glasses, sideboards, and pantries, the chests of drawers, the walls selves, there we go, are changed of colors. Believe me, send again whole the people. I take upon myself to find you some good servants for to succeed them. What I shall be obliged of you to it. Okay. And then we've got, let's see. We're actually going to leave for the comedy for next time, because that extends like for an extra like whole page. So we're going to leave that for next time. Well, but that has been some English as she is spoke, which made all sorts of sense. And actually, we have enough time to get a little bit more Ammon Hillman in here after we read some English as she is spoke.
Do it.
Now you know why. Now you know why. It doesn't say what it does.
That doesn't mean anything, Ammon. What does any of that mean?
Fantastic. Boom. This is from Biblical Hebrew Made Easy. Biblical Hebrew vocabulary. How much is enough?
It's Biblical Hebrew Made Easy.
So this is a language learning resource, I assume.
Yes.
Biblical Hebrew vocabulary.
How much is enough?
The law of diminishing returns. Okay.
So basically, I'm guessing that this is going to be something where it's just like, hey, if you want to be able to read the Hebrew Bible, learn like these 3,000 words very well, and then you'll be able to look up the remaining ones when you come across them, which will be infrequently. Which
when I teach, the first, so at the conclusion of the first term of Hebrew, students know 200 words basically.
Yeah.
Right. When I teach it. So that's just a very, very basic. But even after module 3, I think that number is just over 500. But yeah.
Well, the thing is, with 500 words, that is most of the words you're going to come across in most sentences in most languages.
True. Right.
The law of diminishing returns, right? They've got to sit. Where is this gentleman from?
I don't know.
No, go down to the next. Oh, who is this? This is Reverend Dr. Walter Meyer 3.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
It's the third, Ammon. It's the third, but okay.
Professor
He's a seminarian
Hebrew at Concordia Theological Seminary.
Okay.
I bet he writes books.
Probably.
Unlike
and
you.
What does he say? He says there are 419,000 words in the Hebrew Old Testament text. Of those 419,000 words, 6,679 are unique.
Actually, it says 8,679.
8,679.
Let's just take a drink for Ammon Hillman being worse at math than Jeffrey Tompkins, which is an accomplishment. Good job.
I'll be honest, I thought you were going somewhere else.
Oh. Joshua Geese for $5 says, apparently Hillman likes his vocabulary like he likes his eggs. Over easy.
Nah.
Very nice.
Compose the total usage. So the question is, how many of those words do I need to have absolute mastery over to be competent in biblical Greek? Look what he says. 1,903 words will get you all the way to that galaxy. Wow.
Okay, well, so let's see what he actually says, right? Okay, so how many words do I need to have absolute mastery over, over to have competency in biblical Hebrew? So how many words do you need to know to be competent to read most of the texts? Okay, so he says, let's see, if you want to recognize nearly 90% of all words, the answer would be 22% of the 8,690 words. That means you need 1,900, so we'll call it 2,000, right? But here's the thing. 2,000 is more than most people use in most conversations, right? Most people don't actually use that many words in most conversations. So yeah, knowing 2,000 Hebrew words will get you to recognize nearly every word you come across. And you will be good enough at Hebrew to both be able to pick up on context, as well as to be able to use your lexical sources to go figure out what the words you don't recognize are, right? This is basically telling someone like, hey, let's say you want to take a trip to Brazil. How many Portuguese words do you need before you could have most conversations without ever needing to look up a word? The answer isn't going to be 9,000. It's not even going to be close. It's probably going to be about 2,000. And you will need to not look up words in almost every conversation you have in Portuguese in Brazil. That's a perfectly reasonable number for a target for someone to be competent in a language. That is a new language that they're learning. Sure, it's not fluency, but it's damn close. It's well past conversational in most circumstances. Right? Like, this is just Ammon Hillman saying like, oh, a normal number of words isn't a larger number of words. Therefore, Hebrew bad? It doesn't even make sense. This is actually a similar number would be the case if you wanted to learn Greek. If you wanted to learn Greek, you would need far fewer than 22% of the entire corpus of ancient Greek words that we know of. Because most texts don't use most of those words, and most of those words will be common words that come up a whole lot. In fact, I would hazard to guess that if you wanted to figure out what the 22%, what words comprise 90% of all word occurrences in the corpus of classical Greek, I don't think it would be that much higher than 2,000. I honestly don't. Because that's how languages work. So there's this concept called a Pareto distribution where 80% of whatever the thing is comprises, like, is doing 20% of the work, and the reverse is the same, right? So like 20% of the words in your language are doing about 80% of the work. And it's a rough estimate, Pareto distribution, but if you can see, like, this is roughly that, right? About 22% of the words are doing about 90% of the work. That just means that Hebrew is following a Pareto distribution for word count, which is typical. That's all that's happening right now. Stephen G. Cleaner for $5 says,
right.
Can we crowdfund for Hillman to take Kip's Hebrew class? No, because he'll refuse. That's the thing. He just won't do it. He has... The problem for Ammon Hillman is not that he doesn't have the resources to learn Hebrew. He absolutely does. He chooses not to. It is a choice.
It's within his best interest not to learn it.
Yeah, I mean, there is that
at
too.
this point.
Goop23 for $2 says, bold of Kip to call someone out for not writing, right?
Hey, listen. I mean, Hillman has not written or published with an academic press. He's not
Just like Kip.
published anything under peer review.
Just like Kip.
I could send you my CV, Dapper.
That's just lines on paper, Kip. It's just lines on paper.
You can actually read shit that I've published in journals. They're out there.
Tree Clam Tad for $2 says, this video is the Asylum sequel to Powder. All right. Kip, what do you have coming up that you want people to know about?
Things I have coming up.
Go quick because we might crash.
I feel like there's something I'm missing. I know, but we will. I'll be doing Kiriati Breach on Thursday evening at 5:00 Pacific, 8:00 Eastern. We'll finish up Numbers chapter 25. I'm not sure who's coming on yet. And then on Friday, I'm very excited because friend of your channel, Maddie from Science Side Up, is going to be on my channel. And the reason she's going to be on my channel is because she contacted me and she's like, oh my God, Wes Huff says so many stupid things about science and I really want to talk about it. So I was like, yeah, come and talk to me about it. Sounds fun. So we're doing something a little different for me on my channel, but I love Maddie and I love dunking on Wes Huff. So it's going to be a good time. So, and then I think that's it.
Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $2 says, even Kip has the decency to have a dog write for him, right? Get something under his name, even if it's written by a dog. All right. So, Vishanti, got anything coming up that you want people to know about?
Nothing off the top of my head.
Okay. So here on this channel, let's see. On Tuesday, we got Jackson with Jackson coming up. I have confirmed with Jackson. That'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then on Thursday, we've got, I believe, the conclusion of the Jay Siegert videos. So I'll have to double check that. I haven't scheduled it because I'm lazy. Also, I just forgot to schedule it, is the actual answer there. But that will be at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be playing some Wrath and Glory. I have the Wrath and Glory starter set, and we're going to play through the starting adventure for that. I already have players playing most of the characters. I do have 2 that are still available, and I do have a few people who have not decided whether or not to play. So I will be bugging them and seeing if they want to play as either of those. But either way, we'll still have a crew of like 4 players, even if no one else comes in for that. And we will be using the starter rule set, so we won't be using the full rule set because this is still the intro. But that'll be called Trader's Hymn is what the title of that adventure is. So there you go. Then on Saturday, we'll be back because we still have 8.5 minutes of Ammon Hillman content here in just this video. And I might have a clip from a different podcast queued up that's also Ammon Hillman. So yeah, but also
this is the reaction. It's so that when Dapper wrote and said, "Hey, we're going to be doing an Ammon Hillman video today," my reaction was "Woo!" And Vicious was just like that. It was
no.
So the reason I wanted to do some Ammon Hillman is because we make jokes about Ammon Hillman claims kind of a lot. And like we talk about it every once in a while, and I wanted there to actually be context for what the heck we're talking about.
Want to share with people just how unbelievably dumb.
Yeah,
this
exactly
is. Yeah,
actually, my first encounter with Ammon Hillman was my brother sent me the video recording of like I think it was like what's that podcast he's been on a few times? Yeah, the Danny Jones podcast. He's like, "Hey Tim," because my brother doesn't call me Dapper. What do you think of this? And I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is the dumbest shit that I have ever heard about anything to do with the Bible. And I was a little bit more polite about that, but I wrote that back. I was like, this is incredibly dumb for like a laundry list of reasons. Let me give you some of them. So yeah, that was my first encounter with Ammon Hillman. Was my brother. My brother is not well versed in things like biblical literature or Hebrew, so like I get it.
Can I tell of my first encounter with Ammon Hillman?
Sure. We got 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. So I was contacted by Gnostic informant one Saturday afternoon because he was doing a sub milestone celebration stream. He's like, I want to do this thing. He says, and I have this friend of mine who thinks that the Old Testament was written in Greek. I wondered if we could just set up like a discussion, kind of a debate thing.
Oh, no.
And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Right. So yeah, that. And 30 minutes later, I was so upset and frustrated by the fact that this guy is an imbecile who doesn't listen to anybody that I just left. I was like, you know what? I don't have to be here.
They're like, hey, he rage quit. I'm like, it's too fucking stupid to dignify.
Yes.
Also, Garrett Volkering says 8.5 minutes of more video. It's enough for 4 hours of content. It is. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Although we actually got through almost 6 minutes today, so maybe not. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, we actually did pretty well today. I didn't think.
I mean, there's a lot of empty spaces between what he says.
Everybody, we are going to get out of here. I am going to go get ready for these. We're doing Star Trek today. We're back to doing Star Trek. We took a little bit of a break for both me taking a break purposes and then also because of technical problems, which, as you can see, are apparently not entirely fixed, but they're way better than they were. So yeah, if you have access to my Discord and you want to watch Star Trek Enterprise, maybe even if you're still eating Pringles, that's okay. You can come by, and we can watch some Star Trek Enterprise. We're still in season 1, I believe. I think the last one that we did was the episode with the rogue planet and the shape-shifting creatures that look like Jonathan Archer's mom sometimes. So, yeah. Fish knows exactly which episode that is. All right.
No,
We'll
sorry,
get out
I'm
of here.
distracted.
I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully over on
Right.
the Discord. Bye. Oh, and ice must be abolished. I forgot about that. Abolish ice.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above.
Siloof, Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, Mikau Dominiak, Sammy LaFleur, Edwin M., Kenneth Swenson, John Ackerman, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Ian Chen, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivara, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pegajace, The Plastic Mouse, Gordon Loves Science, Amber Athelian, Prixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, and Me, Myself, and I.
It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.